Yeah. Okay, so what, 1 second. So why, the question is, why did I become a doctor? Yeah. Uh, I think this is quite a noble profession. And when I was back in India, it again goes back to my childhood experiences. And going back is about my father. He was absolutely, we are four sisters. And in those days, having an girl child was still not an such a good news for many parents in those days, I would say. But considering we have four children, and my father was absolutely wanting us to be professionals in the first instance, and then coming back from the village area where there were no healthcare facilities. And uh, sorry, there's one more call. Can you just give me a second, please? Sorry about that. Uh, yeah, uh, yeah, he was a lot more motivating. And uh, lack of facilities when he had seen that. So he really had a real good vision that he wants us to be educated and get into this profession. And for women, he thought medicine is the best profession. He was an engineer, but he felt that. And maybe those thoughts and the ideas were passed on to kind of me as well. And when I was going to school, the bus route used to take a medical college called Hubli Medical College en route. Like, we had to pass through. So every year for nearly 10 years, I used to sit near the window when it was coming, and then used to peep and feels like, oh my God, this will be such a dream place if I also become a doctor and study in here. So those two, I think, really put mind towards the medicine. And now if you ask me, are you really happy? I think it's such a noble profession. It gives such an wide choice, plus work life balance is there, and the satisfaction. So although the patient care is then the top one, in addition to that, you can be an academics one, training, teaching, research. There is much variety in the job that we do as doctors, in addition to the patient care. So I think and if we choose the right specialty, uh, we can have a really good work-life balance, enjoy life, at the same time, do the patient care. And that you can't, I mean, I can't explain in any words. When we really do a good job and get such a good feedback from the families, uh, there's nothing more to it, I would say.
Absolutely, I can understand. Like, like it's so, like it's such a gratifying experience, to like go through this and then see the smiles on their faces, and you feel so pleased and satisfied with yourself at the end of the day that you have made a difference to someone's life and someone's family with what you do.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And actually, even when I was on the other side of the receiving end, for example, like, when I had my daughter, I didn't actually realize up until then how much difference we as professionals make in others' life, because I was never a patient and I never had to really be on the receiving end. But when my daughter was just a 4 weeks old, non-stop crying, irritable, high-pitched cry, you know, uh, it was a really worrying time for me at that time. And then I thought, I knew there isn't anything majorly wrong, but still I felt I need to get an opinion, and I went to the hospital, waited for nearly 2.5 hours. After that, one of my consultant came and then said, and then she was all fine and absolutely normal. And even listening to from a professional saying, oh, everything is fine, was so much consoling to my husband and also to me. So I thought, actually, I mean, it may not be a major thing, but having reassurance, someone who knows the subject, is very, very satisfying.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's always good to hear it from, someone, and then you get that sense of relief and that sigh of relief that, it's okay. Like, I mean, the doctor said it's fine, so like everything should be fine. Like, it's not a big deal there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and in pediatrics, actually, in
yeah,
pediatrics,
with babies.
sickness I mean, the babies and the children can go downhill in a matter of minutes and
Mm,
hours. So this is where the difference, identifying the septic child and those dangerous signs. And so I feel really proud about that. We can make the difference.
yeah, no, absolutely, I get that. So, like Dr. Saraswati, like if you want like going to become a doctor, did you ever think that okay, I might do this? Like, did you ever have any other aspirations or dreams about another career choice for yourself or anything of that sort?
Yeah, the first one was the medicine always, and then yes, as a what happened is I did get an engineering placement before the medicine. Engineering placement was at Suratkal, but for some reason from the beginning I was never, my mind I don't think works in that direction as to the engineering. So I knew my personality doesn't suit to it, and on the top of that, my parents, my father also knew, like, it doesn't suit me. And so then I thought the next option was, I was quite influenced, and I would say always valued and respected the principal of my school where I studied in a residential school for 7 years. And we had a principal from the army background, and the way he disciplined, and the way he was mingling with the children and the education, it really inspired me. And his name was Muttu sir. We used to call him as Muttu sir. And is absolutely, and he was a wing commander. And whenever I'd seen, like, I used to think, right, I should become a principal of a really nice school. And so I had taken an enrollment for BSc to be start with the education side, being a lecturer, and then trying to be a principal. So I was going in that route. And actually, the principal in that college said, "You have got an engineering seat, but why are you refusing that? And that too, it is a really good one, and you're coming back to this field." I said, "No, this is my choice." And after that, actually, after enrolling there, I got a medical selection in my second list. So yeah, I think if I had not become a doctor, probably I would have been a lecturer or a principal of some school.
Yeah, I can get that. Like, I think you would be a really nice teacher because it's so nice to hear you
Thank you.
talk about your experiences. And yeah, no, I get that absolutely. So do you do anything in terms of like other than like patient care and clinical aspects? Do you do anything in the education line, like like as an educator or as a trainer as well, like on the side? Like, what do you do outside work essentially?
Yeah, I mean, actually, within the work also, we do a lot of teaching and training. And I'm an educational supervisor and also mentor. And I was named a doctor for safeguarding. I don't know if you know about child protection safeguarding. In that, there's a lot of teaching and training that is important for the staff, and the other health, sorry, not the healthcare, it's the social care side. And I was involved in designing the safeguarding training program, and I personally delivered the lecture on the health aspect in the child protection, and that was absolutely well received, because again, you talk with the some examples and the videos, so that was very, very liked. And now outside the work, um, the pure teaching and training outside the work is not so much, I would say. It's all informal, through the BAPIO, what we do, some of the contribution for the training and mentoring some of the IMG graduates. And on informal basis, you do get a regular calls from people taking the PLAB exams and to talk about things. So I think that's where I do contribute outside the work.
Got it. And so what are your, like, what do you do, from purely like a recreational perspective outside work? Like, what are your hobbies other than, like educating and teaching and training? What do you do to, just get some peace of mind, or, just like be like mentally sane to like show up at work mentally sane the next day?
I like really a quiet time myself. That's the first thing, because in a busy life, and especially when you also have a family, and I have a dog called Simba. It's a golden retriever. So it's a full-on life,
And
really.
I have a golden
And,
retriever.
have you?
Yeah,
Goodness.
he was just
Okay.
sitting over here, and I saw your WhatsApp DP, and I felt like it's a golden retriever, but I wasn't sure. But he looks just like mine. My dog's name is Whiskey,
Yeah.
and he's 1 year old.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah.
Simba was born on April 18th, so he's
Ah,
also 1 year old now. Yeah.
oh, so
So
cute.
you can imagine the busy life with
Yeah,
and
it's like
especially
a
when
baby who never grows up.
exactly the third child, and
Yeah.
so and with two children, my son is 16 who has got A levels, and my daughter is 13 and typical teenager. So that's kind of in a house routine. So what I'm saying is, yes, quiet time for myself is the first thing that's needed, and very rarely you do get it, I would say. But yeah, a couple of other passionate things. I love gardening, and anything greenery around me really inspires me. And I can do the gardening the whole day, really. I can just stay out. And interestingly, our Simba also will be there trying to follow me wherever I go. And sometimes he treats me like a queen, you see, like he just.
I know, I know exactly what you mean, because it's just like you feel like you're on top of the world, right? Like when they are around, like it's just like they just want cuddles and hugs, and they'll sit on top of you and act like a
Yeah.
weighted blanket on you. Like, it just takes away all the stress and whatever you've had the whole day, anxiety. And it's like at the end of the day, you just want to see them and get their warm welcome with their tail wags. So
Yeah, true,
I
true.
can I
And
can completely relate.
so, but I mean, at the same time, there is also a lot of work involved with him, in the sense we have to take for the walk,
Yeah.
regularly in the morning and evening. So that is quite a handful, I would say,
Yeah,
taking care of that
especially the
aspect.
puppy stage, when they are like,
Yes,
that's really a
yes,
lot of work. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So
I
I would say, yeah, gardening is the wonderful thing, and the another that I really love is about cooking. But I always like a bit more like a creative cooking rather than, I don't like the straightforward recipes, and um, I try to balance the some of the nutrients. For example, in South India we do dosa. Yeah, there's a kind of a balance. They put like 3:1 to the rice and the dal. So dal, we know, is a protein, and we want to cut down a bit more carbohydrates. So you tend to add a bit more different kind of a pulses in there to get, as long as we get the right consistency as a batter, that's all it matters. So I try to kind of manipulate that recipe to ensure that we got the right balance of the nutrients and stuff like that. And so I experiment quite a lot with the cooking and the food, and my kids also seem to love it. And even to their taste, pizzas, homemade pizzas and things like that. So it is quite fun when we put a lot of interest in there with more creative ideas.
That's so nice. It's so therapeutic to hear that you like gardening and cooking. I mean, it's so good for you to also to like de-stress from all this, and like indulge yourself in hobbies like this. So, like, speaking, I mean, you just reminded me of like, South Indian cuisines right now, like when you said, like, the whole dosa and the batter, that the dal, the chutney that you make. So is there anything that you absolutely like love about India and you miss about it? and yeah, you would really want, like, is anything, it could be like movies or like food or anything of that sort.
Yeah, no, I think the weather is the first one, obviously, is a great one. And food, obviously, that comes as a common. But I really like is about the tourism, I would say, in India. There's so many such wonderful places that are not really known to many others. And I love visiting them. And it highlights how creative and the artistic the people are there, but it's not fully acknowledged. Yeah, so I love the tourism, and I haven't seen many places in India itself, so I miss those, and I that's my in the to-do list, my bucket list to complete some of the places in there. So that's one. And another one, actually, I do uh, miss from the food point is American chopsy used to be my favorite dish. The other routine dishes we do at home, parents did it, and so that becomes more like a routine. But some dishes like American chopsy and chats and savories, I absolutely
Yeah,
miss them now too.
I know the food and the, like, it's so eclectic, even the tastes and everything, right? Like, it's so different wherever you go in India, like.
Yeah, and then my parents and my mother, like, whenever we went on a holiday, all the time the first thing she used to ask is, what do you want to eat? So whatever we say, that's going to be cooked, and that's we're going to eat. So
Oh,
and and it's that kind of love and care. Someone is caring for
yeah,
you and really uh, does what you want.
yeah,
Such things we miss here, isn't it? Like,
I know. So is there anything like very specific from your childhood that you have like super good memories of? Like, it could be like friends, or your childhood town, something that you absolutely reminisce and makes you feel good over there. Is there anything like that?
yeah, you know what? It's a really wonderful question, I would say. Most of my kind of current experiences and how we adults, I'm sure you look at from the neuroscience as well, uh, adults, we conceptualize and do anything is mainly based on our early childhood
Yeah,
experiences
yeah,
and the environment and the behavior that we have come across
yeah.
as children, isn't it? Most of
That's
it.
true. Yeah,
Yeah. So the fascinating thing, couple of things, if I can remember, I'll start from, uh, you know, um, uh, uh, before I went to a residential school, that is from before the sixth standard. There, some of the memories is we lived in a place in the Cortras Bay. In the evening, uh, all children in those areas, Cortras areas, we used to play for an hour. And after that, you all go to your house, get a plate, food in your plate, and then come and sit. And we had a bougainvillea, like a big tree in front of our house. We all used to sit in a circle, and literally you just share a bite with the next person on the right and the left, and then eat and then go. And I can't imagine such things happening any time. So that is one of the memories stuck in my head. And I can remember the first friend from that place, and she had a really not a very good parents, because dad used to drink alcohol, and they were in a small actually hut attached to nearer the our kind of in a quarters area. And her mom used to work in a farm, and somehow I had some friendship with her. And whenever I went there, their mom, they had a little small hut actually, and in the center of the hut they had a round, the pole that supports, and they made it like a table there. And she never used to be interested in reading, that my friend, but when I went there, somehow I felt like sitting and reading there, and their mom used to feel so happy. Oh, why don't you sit and read here? She never reads. And she used to give me chiku, the chiku, the sapota, that fruit from the farm. And such a lovely kind of a friendly memory I have of her, but I have no idea where she is or what she is like. But what I realized, I used to feel very bit sad about her situation then. If I think now, why I used to feel so connected, because she was not so privileged, I would say, at the time. And that situation, I never liked, who used to, drink and not really be supportive of his own daughter, and that's at an young age.
I know.
And then coming to, slightly older, and well, one of the incident is my father comes from a village.
Mhm.
It was such a village where no bus had entered into that village until he married to my mother. And in there, no toilets in the houses. Okay, so it was such an, I would say, backwardly kind of an looked after village. But what I remember is, yes, it's walking with the cousins and other relatives to the farm. And while you are walking there, you would see a stream of water or the river, and you just jump in there and then would have taken some food from home and then eat it in the fields. And they used to have jasmine flowers, the field of jasmine flowers. You pluck the flowers and then come home. And this is during the holidays time, whenever we visited, our grandparents. So these are some of the, I would say, and I can't imagine any of our children really getting that kind of an experience, I would say. And while coming in the evening, you could see loads of cows and sheep, herds of all that, en route. And I used to get scared of all those animals. I used to be literally petrified in those days. But if I think now, kind of an experience, I would take it as.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like you rightly mentioned at the start that like your early childhood experiences shape you as a person you are, and also makes you receptive to the experiences and the situations you are in right now. So I think maybe from a psychological angle, that's why you are so fond of gardening and being around trees and
Nature.
yeah, nature, and because it's very like prominent with what you've described as like your childhood memories. Like that is one element which is like standing out.
Yeah,
So
and again, that links to. I was thinking, like, after that we moved to Dandeli. I don't know if you know that. It's quite a resort, very greenery, and there is a river Kali, and that's where, and it was absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere, right balance of universities and the nature. Somehow that has I think you are right. It's empowering. When I came to London, we lived there for 1.5 years. And then we had come to Bristol only for a 6 months job for my husband. I was not working then. During the interview, we just had an interview for half an hour, and then we had the rest of the day free for ourselves. Then we thought, all right, okay, let's just drive around. And then we followed a direction for, there was some balloon fiesta, the name. We had no idea what that meant, but we had time. So we thought, let's just follow the direction. And we went. You won't believe, it was such a greenery place, Bristol is, compared to London. And then we crossed again the River Avon, and then went to a beautiful landscape where the loads of balloons, hot air balloons, were taking off. And I thought, this is magical. And then
yeah.
I said, right, okay, so if we get the offer, we'll stay here. And then it was a 6 months job, but now we are here for 23 years. We didn't move from here. So that's a kind of a power, I think, what we have, connection with the
Yeah,
nature, what we like.
6 months to 23 years. That's
Yeah.
that's actually a very good. I mean, you wouldn't have ever thought that it would have materialized into like so many years of you staying like close to nature.
No, and interestingly, when the medical staffing at that time, she called us once saying, actually, my husband had applied for a senior SHO post. But then that lady called to say, actually, looking at his CV, he can do a registrar post for 6 months. So we are happy to interview him. And it's in Bristol. I said, I had just come then, right? So I said, I have no idea, but I'll ask my husband. At that time we didn't have mobile. Okay, it's just a landline. So I had to take, he was at work, I had taken the message. When he came, I told him this is how the phone call came. And then he said, oh, I don't know where is Bristol, I'm just in London, I want to be in London, let's not go anywhere else. That's how he was going. And then the next day that lady called me back again saying, what happened, are you coming for the interview, is your husband coming for the interview? I said, he's not interested because we don't know anything about Bristol. And then she said, no, we said he's not interested in this interview, and he would like to be here in London. Then she said, does he know what Bristol is and what all there is to offer? Probably you people are new, you don't know much about this place, and so you are turning it
Yeah.
down. And then I told him, probably there is something what she is saying, maybe we should just go and see. And that's how we came.
Wow, that was such a chance encounter, honestly. Like, imagine if you didn't go.
Yeah, no, I think it's listening. Sometimes when people say something, I think we having that open mind and flexibility, and there's never a kind of an right or the wrong answer, isn't it? So it's
Yeah,
always worth checking the chance, I would say.
yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that. So, like as you were talking about your childhood and, like that one friend who you remember in particular and your whole playtime in the evening with friends. So, your close friends right now over there, or, like even your Indian friends here in India, if they had to describe you in a few words, what would it be?
Yeah. So I'll just go back to one step in there for the I have got a really good set of two friends, two group of friends. One is from the school, from where I have spent nearly 7 years with them, and then the another is from the college. That's another set, and then the final set comes from in the UK. After coming in here, how many we have got in there? So in the school, actually, they have seen me as a very, I would say, thinking outside the box. Like one example is like when we were in seventh or eighth standard, and I was not a class leader then, but one of the there was an opportunity where they collect any suggestions for improvement or the ideas. Okay, then I had observed we had a statue of our school is called Kittur Rani Chennamma Residential School. So she was a queen basically from Kittur, and she saved the town from the British. I don't know the Thackeray. That's a history basically, and she was quite a prominent lady to save the place. And her statue was really in a dumping place, and it was garbage place, and that's where our school mess was. Somehow when I had seen that, so when they said things to improve and suggestion, I put it I said there is an statue in the garbage, and I said, can that be repainted? And in front of the school building there's a huge wall, actually the big wall at the front of the building, and that was empty. And then I said, can that be brought and put it in there? And I never realized that would be taken, and a few years after then I'm going and seeing, and it's there. you know so they have seen me like giving ideas and the suggestions, though not I was a class leader, but still I used to contribute, giving some thoughts at that age. So I myself actually was a bit surprised to, yes, I was able to think at that time. And some of the suggestions are listened, even though we are not in a position of that leadership. So that is very important, I would say, to listen at the ground level, even at the NHS, and now in the current working situation. If people listen, whoever is in the higher authorities, at the experiences of the frontline, uh, it may be anything really, frontline doctors or the professionals or anyone, they might get really good ideas. So that's another childhood memory what I have got. And just to add to the school one, I was also a sports captain in there, and I used to love sports and games in that age group. I loved literally every game. I used to play hockey and kho, kabaddi, carom board, table tennis, badminton, every game except lawn tennis. Lawn tennis, we could not play because it was very expensive racket. It was 800 rupees. And I remember not going for it because, oh my God, racket itself is so expensive. So that's the only game we haven't played. And I have represented, that's another great memory I have is traveling to Punjab, where we had a national games and I was playing for state in hockey.
Wow, that's so interesting to hear. And I mean, I completely understand, when you're saying that it's expensive because yeah, like when we are growing up, we have these like certain things like, okay, we can't do this activity because like the
Yes.
equipment for it is so expensive, we can't afford it. And yeah, no, I absolutely get that because I myself, I'm in chess. Like I play a lot of chess on a national level as well. But I'm more of like an indoorsy, like board game, sort of like chess and carom rather than like physical sports. For that, I have like my Kathak dance and the other dances that I do. So yeah, no, absolutely, I get that.
Yeah,
So,
my son actually is out of this one. My son plays chess,
oh,
and he's also a national player in UK in here, and he plays quite a strong games internationally as well. And he's
oh wow,
16. Yeah.
wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, chess is, I think, like it's, I mean, like off topic, I think it's a very cerebral game, and it actually like helps you exercise your mind, build
Yes.
concentration and focus. I had that. I mean, I used to play it in school. Like I used to like break from like my studies and just go and play chess because it used to give me a sort of like relaxation in the middle of studies, and then I would feel that I could focus better after playing chess because it's all about the mind, right? Like calculating, concentrating what the opponent's moves are,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's
But
really
the
like
interestingly, how he got into chess was, every year we used to come visit India,
hmm,
and my parents' place is kind of an not in a big place.